Funding now on Indiegogo, it's Shadowbinders, our second chance offer to get 2 hardcovers of our classic webcomic delivered to your door. Steampunk, fantasy, and romantic comedy from Clownfish Comics. Go to Indiegogo, check out the link in the description below. Now on with the video. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And finally, Sesame Street is being diverse and inclusive.
I know, it's like they never did it before.
After 50 plus years.
I know, right?
We're finally getting diversity and inclusion on Sesame Street. No, in all seriousness, guys, we're going to talk about this because this actually dovetails into a larger argument that we have here on the channel, which is people want to reinvent the wheel. Usually for social media clout, usually for fist bumps from the media. Sesame Street has always been one of the most diverse and inclusive shows on television. They've actually been decades ahead of other TV shows, and I'm going to talk about that because old school Sesame Street, man, it was pretty badass compared to what kids have now, which is basically Sesame Street for Karens. Let's be honest.
I'm like, if they really wanted to be inclusive and make sure all kids, were exposed to their messages, they wouldn't put it on HBO Max first for kids that can't afford it.
That is true.
Because it was originally meant to be for kids, who had public access television because they didn't have,
that is true.
Expensive TV packages.
So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna take you to Sesame Street. We're gonna take you to school. Here on Clownfish TV. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 183,000 subs. Thank you.
Woo-hoo.
Hoping for 200,000 soon.
Sorry, I was going to say, but you went into our intro. I was going to say, sunny day, bitch. But I didn't get to do it because you cut me off. Anyway, let's go.
That needs to be a t-shirt. Sunny day, bitch.
Sunny day, bitches.
Benches.
Sunny day, benches.
Chasing the clouds away. So they made a big announcement today. You sent it over to me that finally, they're going to have brown people on Sesame Street.
Yes.
And I about fell out of my fucking chair because I'm like, have they ever watched the show? I'm just putting it out there. Like, right? There's always been brown people on Sesame Street. And we're going to talk about that. So, they are welcoming 2 Black Muppets because it is topical. They do this on Sesame Street a lot where there's something that comes up and they always try to parallel.
But normally they do Muppets that are animals or bright colored characters.
Yeah, they actually had I guess a quote unquote Black Muppet before.
It's coded black.
Roosevelt Franklin, who kind of went down the memory hole, by the way. He was on for a while with Prairie Dawn, all that, and then he sort of disappeared. So this isn't the first time it's been done. In fact, we could, talk about Kevin Clash, if you're allowed to talk about Kevin Clash, who got caught tickling too many people, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, we talk about on this channel that there is this tendency with the media, with Twitter, whatever, to have very short memories.
Yes.
And, what happens is, they're always like, finally, we have a new gay character, even though there's been gay characters before in the Marvel Universe.
Finally women are showrunners, even though they're women running shows in the 80s, and they're the actual ones who fought for the right to do so, not you. And that kind of thing. Yeah, and it does a huge disservice to the people who came before. So we're going to talk about that. We're not going to go into a whole lot of detail as to why they're bringing, obviously, why they're probably bringing in black folks as puppets in Sesame Street. But we'll talk about kind of the history of Sesame Street. And I want to point out, this is the very first episode of Sesame Street. It's on HBO Max. And, what you'll notice, right out of the gate on old school Sesame Street, which I love, is all the kids playing on the playgrounds and playing outside. Very diverse. All kids playing together.
They're all playing together. White kids, black kids, girls, boys, everybody's playing together, right? So here's the thing with Sesame Street. Sesame Street was designed to, again, be on public television, and they knew that a large portion of their audience, they were going to be underprivileged kids living in the cities. They were going to be the target audience for Sesame Street. Mm-hmm. So they designed the show to appeal to a diverse group of people. You watch, especially the earlier Sesame Street, and it's kind of, it's kind of gritty, actually. The, Sesame Street's not gentrified. It looks like an urban area in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's very diverse. The very first character we see on screen is Gordon. The original Gordon, who had an afro, not bald Gordon.
Later, they added Hispanic people too.
Yeah, we have Maria and Louise. This is the crew I remember.
Oh yeah, there's Maria. There's Maria right there.
Yeah, no, this is the newer.
I mean, look, it's been diverse, guys.
Yeah. The show has been.
Gabby. I remember Gabby.
Gabby, that was actually Maria's daughter.
Our kids used to watch when Gabby and them were on.
But the show has been one of the most diverse shows on TV since day one.
Plus, Hollywood uses it all the time to poke fun at themselves. And it's just been, it's never been like, it's only for white Karens and stuff like that, ever.
That is a more recent thing. And I think that has to do a lot with, like you were saying, with HBO.
With HBO, yeah.
Because I've noticed, like, just casually, our kids, when they were getting older, even watching the newer versions of Sesame Street, how professional it looks, I guess, compared to when it was on the air back in the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. It looked kind of low rent, it did. I mean, we had the Muppets and everything on there, but now it's like the street is very clean, very gentrified. It looks like a Disney resort hotel.
Yeah, kind of.
And not like an actual street, which it did at first. It looked like an actual street.
These are the people in your neighborhood.
These are the people
in your neighborhood.
In your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And and as a kid, I never thought twice about it.
No, neither did I.
I was just like, and I freaking love Gordon. Gordon's like everybody's dad. Now, I just want to put this out there because it still pisses me off. When Gordon and Louise and Bob got a little long in the tooth, they put them out to pasture.
Yeah.
In a very horrible way. They just like kicked their asses to the curb, and they were, founders of the show. Well, except for this, he's a new Gordon, but still. You retired these characters in such an awful, awful way. It's like, so you're going to say that you're all about diversity and inclusion. You're going to kick those old guys to the curb.
You can even see from this photo here that they were even including like different outfits and different things that were associated with different ethnicities, different cultures. And they've always tried to make it that it was, well, they used to anyway, tried to make it that it was very inclusive. It taught you there are people that were different than you. It taught you about other people from other places. Yep. How you can be in one neighborhood and have so many different people with different stories, and how interesting those stories can be. That's what it always taught. And it's just, and I'm not, saying that adding these new characters is a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that the narrative behind it is what I'm concerned about, because they're acting like, well, finally we're adding these characters so we can combat racism. I'm like, the whole point of the show was to combat racism while teaching underprivileged children.
The character of Gordon is actually a teacher, and his wife, Susan, is a nurse. And Gordon, look, all these kids are playing together. It never really came up. I mean, sometime, oh God, Big Bird was nightmare fuel back then.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, groundbreaking in that regard, because we're talking, this show dropped in 1969, mm-hmm. and everybody's getting along. And there are a lot of brown kids in the neighborhood, in in urban New York. It's in New York. Imagine that. Everybody's getting along. Now, they do tackle some weightier issues later, but they never really go full on, I think, and, slap you across the face with it.
No, and even like moving forward and, closer to our time, you remember the one thing they had, the one video that Squid King loved, and he used to love Sesame Street. Like, we had videos galore. The workout in a chair.
Yeah.
They had even had a song about workout in a chair, and they had, like a little girl who was handicapped in a chair, and they were doing a work. She was involved. They're doing a workout in a chair, so you can do it anywhere, so everybody can be included. They've always been inclusive. They've been inclusive of handicaps. They've been inclusive of races and genders and different like things like autism and homelessness. They've always been inclusive. It's always been they've always pushed the boundaries and made sure that they understand that kids face different issues. We need to make sure we bring those issues to light so that these kids feel like they're included. That has been the whole message of Sesame Street the entire time. It wasn't invented in 2016, guys. It wasn't invented just when these people put these new characters on. So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so New York Post, they had an article out last year about Roosevelt Franklin, who disappeared down the memory hole, mm-hmm. and that they had to push. Again, he was, I guess you'd say, he's coded as a black.
Yeah, because he was purple, because Muppets are all colors, aren't, normal skin tones.
Is that where this whole weird trend with Tumblr
Guy
to make?
Smiley.
Yeah, Guy Smiley. Is that where that whole weird trend came from Tumblr, where they started making black people purple?
Is it why? Yeah, because they always do that. They always do that. I don't understand that. But like, you're looking at characters, and there's all kinds of different characters that have, are different types of representations, and they're all different colors. It was obviously because one of the reasons they wanted to use that was because they're teaching kids about colors. Plus, bright colors attract children's attention.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons to use it.
So anyway, they had Franklin. Now, they had to fight to get Roosevelt Franklin on the show. So Matt Robinson, who was the original Gordon, he was the Gordon with hair. We had a Gordon with hair and a Gordon without hair. I grew up with a Gordon without hair. But Matt Robinson played Gordon. He was also a writer on the show, and he pushed the producers to add a black puppet. This is back in 1969. He said, we need to represent black kids, not just by having black cast members, because a lot of the cast is black on Sesame Street, but also in the Muppet sphere. Jim Henson said the Muppets have no color, but Matt felt the default setting for the Muppets was white because white guys were operating with them, and Robinson prevailed. And then they got rid of Roosevelt Franklin by 1975. So, but I'm just like, look how many years this predates what they're doing now. And it's like, you guys had the character and you kind of...
Yeah, and I think Henson's point was, we're not trying to code the Muppets as, we want it to be for everybody. And if you can see yourself in that Muppet, that's great. I think that's what he was meaning. And then we're going to try to put, a lot of diversity in the human cast. But, it's always been diverse. It's always, 50 Shades trilogy on a Sesame Street video or Sesame Street article. That's funny.
Oh,
anyway, well, we were talking about colors, 50 Shades of gray. But anyway, it's just, to me, that this doesn't make sense because there's a lot of people that were involved in it. Like, a lot of people that were involved in the show that weren't white. And this whole idea that we're just now going to talk about racism, we're just now fixing this problem, is what is frustrating. Not that they're going to add these characters, it's because they add characters all the time, and that's nothing new. Is the fact that they're just acting like, oh, look, we finally fixed it. Oh, yeah, I remember these guys.
Yeah, well, back in 2010, they had some more.
I remember this.
Yeah, Black Muppets sing a song called "I Love My Hair." So look, they're gonna obviously address current events, but I mean, when you have a show that is 50 plus years old, that was intentionally designed to appeal to diverse audiences. To make I guess my thing is like, to make such a big deal about diversity now when it's already been done, it should be kind of a no-brainer. But again, This is all about...
I'm like, they're adding these two puppets, and I'm like, and water's wet. They added a homeless Muppet not that long ago. They have one that has autism and stuff. Yeah. This is not surprising. Or, it's not, oh, shocker, they're finally coming up to date. They've been ahead of the curve.
Or is this like, hey guys, Sesame Street's still on the air. You're gonna have to pay for it.
Go to HBO. No, you can watch. They can watch them for free after they've been on HBO for a while. So
you can watch the reruns. Poor people can watch the reruns. All you poor people can watch the reruns, even though it was literally designed to help educate inner city kids back in the
who
60s.
Might not have had the opportunities that other kids might have had. And I know, and I grew up in an area that was relatively poor, and we watched Sesame Street all the time too. I mean, it wasn't just because, it's made for, you're saying, black kids are poor. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
There's a lot of kids all around the world that have watched Sesame Street for free on PBS because it helps so many kids.
Yeah. Some of those Big Birds are nightmare fuel.
They are.
The ones they have around the world, they're like.
But they've taken Big Bird to China. They've had all kinds of different things where they've had different movies, and it's just the whole point was to explore different cultures, to learn about other types of people than yourself. That was the entire point. I'm just like, I can't even with this.
But finally, Sesame Street adds some
current Sesame Street
needed diversity.
Let's
bravo
clap to those people that are taking credit for this.
Thank God for you, HBO. Thank God for you.
I know.
All right, we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yep.
Okay, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.